Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to our instant reaction pod. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, flying solo once again. My boy Caleb enjoying his time during the holidays in Costa Rica. Can't blame him. The photos I'm seeing, the beautiful weather, the beaches, sure beats what most of us are dealing with, and that's a gloomy Lazio right now. My goodness, talk about a match that just really has me bummed out during this holiday. So yeah, really, really tough to stomach this one. You think that a little bit of luck is finally on our side with the Vecino goal. You start to think, finally things may be going our way. We've seen so many matches recently, whether it's poor calls, unjust red cards, bit of failed opportunities, and then we get a chance and only to concede in heartbreaking fashion in the dying minutes, seconds, final kick of the game. So, man, gonna again do my best to do this one solo. So, so here we go. Let's start where we always do, and that's with the starting 11. There's a lot to talk about with this starting 11. Again, we're without players. This is not a deep side, and we are suffering with red cards. Still, Toma Basic facing the second of a 2-match suspension, which means that we've got Vecino in this one in his place. And then Guendouzi also with a suspension for yellow card accumulation. In his place, we see Belayan. So it's a midfield of Vecino, Cataldi, Belayan. And our back line, we've got the pairing of Romagnoli and Gila back, Pellegrini to the left, Marusic to the right, Provedel manning the goal, Zaccagni back from his suspension. Would we see more creativity from this Lazio side? That was the hope. And then Cancellieri on the right. And the surprise here is Noslin finally getting the nod at the number 9, leading the line here for Lazio. Tati Castellanos, tons of rumors, tons of transfer mercato talk that he's on his way out, supposedly an offer from Flamengo in Brazil. But, those are all rumors, and we don't know. He's on the bench. He would see himself in this one. But this didn't start well. Right off the bat, first minute of the match, we're talking 37 seconds in, and Udinese already on the front foot. They see a cross go in. It's a header. Provedel has to come out strong to punch it out. That first 5-8 minutes, and really it would extend beyond that, but really in the first 5 minutes, I was troubled with what I saw. The Udinese press was causing some problems for Lazio, and then they were absolutely on the front foot. But in the 8th minute, we would see Noslin with the first chance for Lazio outside of the box. He has a ton of space. He decides to take that space. Absolute thundering strike that just goes wide of frame. Really looked dangerous. But then 10 minutes in, Gila turnover because he's got so little time and space on the ball. And we start to see more and more problems like that. We do see some chances, though. Zaccagni, after a free kick, Zaccagni, an audacious bicycle attempt in the 13th minute. 14th minute, Belayan springs Cancellieri down the wing. Doesn't really get too much out of it, though. But 26th minute, Zaniolo, an absolute crack from distance. Provedel manages to get a fingertip on it to save it. They would win a corner from there. 38th minute, a fantastic tackle by Belayan, who has a countering Zaniolo with a ton of pace and strength behind him, but he is shoulder to shoulder, bullied off the ball by a much smaller Belayan. In the dying seconds of the first half, 47th minute, Noslin with a break but seems to take a tough angle, slows down just a tad, wasted opportunity, doesn't really take advantage of that chance. It would go into halftime 0-0. And then 51st minute, Cancellieri with a fantastic turn to burn his defender, cuts to his left, takes a shot that just curls wide. We see a chance in the 65th minute. Pellegrini plays a wonderful ball into the box, but Zaccagni, his touch escapes him there. We finally see Tatti in the 74th minute coming into the match. 75th minute, real problem here. Mario Gila caught napping, turns the ball over. Udinese gets a real chance, a shot on frame. Provedo having to come up big to save this one. And then in the 80th minute, here comes the fortune for us. Finally, Vecino, after Cancellieri creates a great opportunity, gets into the box, passes the ball to an open Vecino, takes a crack at it. Very unfortunate for Udinese because Vecino's shot would get deflected into the back of their own net. It is 1-0 Lazio. You start to think, finally, the gods are shining on us. And we see a number of substitutions. Isaacson finally comes into this one for Cancellieri. We see Gila and Pellegrini come off for Profsgaard and Lazzari. Profsgaard, you start to think Udinese might be playing a ton of long balls in. You're starting to see him coming to late match situations to win balls in the air. And in the 92nd minute, the real opportunity for us to finally put a nail in the coffin of this match, seal the deal. Isaacson bursting through into the box, has the ball at his feet. It is point blank range from there, gets the ball on his desired left foot, and somehow Udinese's keeper manages to save it. Isaacson, we know, struggles with his clinical ability from close range, unable to finish this one, and we would rue this missed chance because in the 95th minute, Lazio is in a position where they are trying to clear the ball, waste some time, kill this one off. Zaccagni sees a darting Tatti, tries to play it over top. The Udinese defender jumps in the air, does a really nice job of keeping his arm close to his body, deflects the shot back. Udinese possession. And that would be it. They would have the ball. They would find themselves with some time on the ball. Lazio giving them the time and just enough space for Davis to have a crack at it. Finds the back of the net in the 95th minute. Last shot of the game. Whistle blown. 1-1. It's a draw. It is a couple drop points for us in a critical point in the season, in a critical match against an opponent that is right near us in the table. And you can't help but feel really gutted after this one. My 3 words: lacking creative options, particularly in the midfield. I really felt like Cataldi was alone in this midfield. He was, forced to do a ton. Look, he's particularly since he's taken the reins of that regista role with Rovella's injury, he is forced to do a ton, both defensively, but in the creative phase of the game. But Toma Basic has relieved a lot of that. Toma Basic finding himself as a much more creative midfielder than we thought, as a midfielder who has a prowess for finding himself in the box, for making the final pass in the box, for finding himself on the end of opportunities. He has an incredible cannon, Toma Basic. And so finding himself as a very well-rounded midfielder to relieve some of that pressure. And then we know, before Guendouzi's suspension in the last match, we saw his best match start to be a much more creative player. And with Belayan, who is a little bit more technically gifted, I thought you would see a much better match or at least more creativity, but he really, particularly on the ball, wasn't sharp. And then Vecino, really invisible outside of, obviously scores the goal. Very, very fortunate to do so. But I just found him to be really toothless and really, really invisible. It felt like a midfield that was comprised of Cataldi and only Cataldi in this one. And so, just no creative options. You take a look at the statistics in this one and heavily favored Udinese. look, we ultimately got to a place where we dominated possession. Dominated, I say that loosely, 54% possession, relatively even down the middle, 46% to Udinese. Udinese expected goals 0.95 to Lazio's 0.43. That is just not good enough from Lazio. It's simply not good enough. You think about the match against Cremonese, and it was another match that we were in that 0.4 area. You're never going to score goals, enough goals, if you're under 1 xg, and we're not even getting to 0.5 right now. Really telling the story of our inability to create enough chances, and then when we do create those chances, we need that clinical finishing. And unfortunately, Isaacson really let us down, and that's not anything new. He's a player that has scored a couple worldies for us, but it seems to be his kryptonite when he is in advantageous situations with a much higher XG, that he fails to find the back of the net in those situations. So, man, I hate to put it all on one moment and one player. Not fair. There's a full 90 plus minutes in this one, but you think about that missed opportunity, and I feel like we say this so often, unfortunately, with these Oxen, is these missed chances, these missed opportunities that come back to haunt us. Can't help but think back to other moments in his tenure with us. And so, man, just real disappointed. Again, the lack of creativity. I thought that you would have a bit more with Zaccagni back in the lineup. Not that he was bad. It's a lot of the same. He's really the only player. You are seeing a little bit more from Cancellieri by way of being able to beat his opponents off the dribble. But yeah, I think our midfield really let us down when it came to making some of those incisive passes that break the lines and give our attack opportunities. Not the greatest of matches from Nasa, not the worst either. I thought he was fine in his first start for us in Serie A this year. I thought, his touch on the ball, there was a lot of things that reminded me of Tati. I just think he has a more direct nose for goal. Again, taking it and taking a couple cracks. He did have 3 shot attempts. Just wasn't able to find the back of the net, which we need our striker to do. But I didn't hate what I saw from him. I was relatively encouraged and think it's an opportunity to build off of what we saw. We're just not getting enough chances. I'm thinking of a man of the match. It's one of those matches where nobody really stood out. The couple players that I liked in this one, again, Cataldi. I think Cataldi would just did a ton. Again, he's always, I think this is in every single match that he's played, he's covering the most ground. He's really sharp in his passing, 96%. So he's a very accurate passer, and this was no different from him. He's safe with the ball. He's, the big difference between him and Rovella is I think he's a little bit quicker when it comes to making that pass to break lines and move the ball in the attacking phase. I thought today was a pretty sharp match from him. And then Cancellieri, I again like what I see from him. He's such an odd player because there's moments where I think he can be sharper, he could be better, but he is a player that gives himself opportunities. I mean, he's in this one, he was the most fouled player. So typically that is going to Zaccagni, but in very Zaccagni-like fashion, he is beating his defender. He is forcing them to foul him. He's somebody, again, he walks away with this one, having an assist, a couple opportunities where he takes some shots, and I like his physicalness. I like the pace that he brings. Not his sharpest match, but mentality. He's always looking to go. So I liked what I saw from him. I thought it was a strong game from Provedel, who had to come up with a couple big saves. But nobody really, there wasn't like a fantastic match from anybody. But I thought those guys really stood out. So I'm going to give Cataldi my man of the match for his work. And then Bidone, talked a little bit about this in the run up, but didn't think it was a good match from Vecino despite walking away with the goal. I thought he was relatively invisible. You see the difference between somebody like him and Toma Basic and what they bring to the midfield and the creativity and the presence in the box. I didn't love what I saw from Vecino. And then the other one that really stood out for me, I thought this was one of Gila's worst matches. I thought he was probably the one most affected from this high press, from the intensity that Udinese was showing. Again, a couple turnovers, and what may perhaps, aside from the goal that they scored, Udinese's best chance coming at the expense of Gila when he turns the ball over and just a little bit sloppy. I think the pressure got to him. And by pressure, I don't mean the moment, just the actual pressure that Udinese was playing with and putting on Lazio's back line. I thought Gila just a really, really poor match. And coming from, arguably our best, most gifted center back. So didn't like what I saw from him. I think he really stood out, and didn't love what I saw from Belayan. I thought he was a bit sloppy. Mishit, I think to the 24th minute, just a mishit pass from Belayan. Marusic was making a darting run down the line, not necessarily on the same page, kind of mishits that ball. But for a player that has been an unused sub for probably since he got a red card against Roma, I think we hadn't seen him since then. You kind of expect some of that rust to build, and he wasn't particularly sharp. So not going to knock the player or think that he doesn't have the quality to help us, but wasn't particularly a sharp match from him. Disappointing though. What this does to the hopes of Europe. Like we write this Lazio side off all the time, and then things change. There's still plenty of football left, still plenty of matches to be played, of course. But taking a live look at the table right now, having played our 17th match, we're on 24 points. 8th in the table. Right behind us at 22 points is Atalanta. And now Udinese with 22 points, but Atalanta has a chance to leap us now if they find 3 points in their match. But missed opportunity, because right ahead of us is Bologna at 25 points, a chance to leap. Then we lose pace to Como, who has only played 16 matches. They're at 27 points, and that distance now between Europe and not qualifying for Europe continues to widen. And so these matches where we're only finding ourselves with draws against lesser sides, really crippling our chances at Europe. It's going to take a run of matches. And these were fixtures that I thought were the quote unquote easy ones for us, that we really had to find all 3 points. The schedule only gets tougher. You got Napoli on January 4th. So next week, Napoli, then you've got Fiorentina, who is fighting, loosely fighting. They dropped another game. They lost today to Parma, but they're going to be fighting for relegation. They do have the quality on their side, but that's one that's going to be really, really tough. And then you could say maybe a bit of a break against Hellas Verona before you see Como, who is, riding high. They obviously beat us in the first match. So this will be a really, really important match against a direct opponent for European play. So tons of rumors out there that we'll see a side that is a bit strengthened through the Mercato. Just excited to be able to dive into rumors. I bitch and moan about the rumors and the Mercato journalists that throw names out every 2 seconds. But having gone a Mercato in the summer without being a part of the rumor mill and any hopes of landing anybody, it's kind of nice to be back in the mix. I think it's all but a guarantee. I think you're going to see Insigne from rumors that I've heard, and my own inside source, I think the Insigne one is practically a done deal. And, I don't know where he's going to play. He's obviously a left winger. It's what he played in MLS. It's what he played at Napoli. He did not find success in Major League Soccer, a very physical league. I think he doesn't quite have the pace that he used to have. Avishe Zaccagni, let's hope we don't need one. We hope that Zaccagni stays healthy, but I think I don't know. I don't want to see. I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical on what he can bring to the table. I know Caleb feels a little bit better about what he can do. Perhaps we get a revived Insigne, and he comes on and does a bit of what Pedro has done for us. But, two different players, two different skill sets. Let's just hope that this time off from Insigne has inspired him. But, we hear the rumors that Tati's out. We hear the rumors that Nuno's got offers from Saudi Arabia. I think we're going to see another outside back come in with Nuno leaving. Likely means that Pellegrini will be in a more rotational situation, if not lose his starting job. But who knows? Look, we've got tons of needs. We know this squad is light. With the midfield the way it is, we are in desperate need of Rovella back. I don't know what that means when he comes back, whether we see both he and Cataldi on the pitch at the same time, which is intriguing, or if those two are more on a rotation, or how we ease Rovella back into this project. We'll be really curious. But yeah, today it's 2 points dropped. Again, I think the result being a draw is ultimately the fairest result. If I'm thinking of this as a neutral, the way both sides played, again, very fortunate for us to even find the back of the net. But damn, it would be nice for us to finally have something go our way, and the fortune lean in our direction and to stay in our direction. Conceding in that 95th minute the way that we did is brutal. They checked it to see if it was a handball. It wasn't. Again, the Udinese defender did a really nice job of keeping his arm tight. So no qualms with the call there. It's just really, really unfortunate. And again, Isaacson has to bury that. Bit frustrating from him and the player that we're seeing, because he does so much and he can be a very creative player and he puts a defense on their back foot. But yeah, this is tough. Again, I don't want to speak in certainties that this crushes our European dreams, which I don't know if we even should be thinking about Europe, and should be relatively content with where we're at, given the side that we are, the players that we have available. But against Udinese, against Cremonese, again, we're not finding 3 points against relegation sides. We're really making it difficult on us. We're coming out and making it difficult for top 4, 5, 6 sides to beat us. But we're really missing out on these opportunities against lesser sides. So, the lads, this was the last one of 2025 for us. Bit of a disappointment to close the year in this fashion, but we've seen a lot of positive. I know Lazio has really been through a ton in this 2025. We missed out on Europe. We find ourselves with a market ban to start this year. We're sitting in a place in the table that we would never be content with. Again, sitting at 8th in the table, we're outside of European spots. Could be back-to-back years without Europe. But I want to shed a light on just some of the positive. Look, 2025 gave us a fun run in Europa, where we finished the table, the regular season of Europa, top of the table, completely unexpected. A run that was brilliant to watch. It was a lot of fun. It had us beating really, really good sides in Europe, and not just beating them, but handedly beating them and looking like a very dangerous side. Got us hoping that we would win Europa outright. Now it ended in very disappointing fashion, as it always does, but it was fun. And I think there's a lot to admire from this Lazio side and the way that Sarri has us playing, given the situation. I admire this team. I love the grinta that they are playing with. And man, we were on the verge of seeing our 10th clean sheet today. Another reason why it was so disappointing. But leading Serie A in clean sheets, still with 9. And you think about how many goals Roma has conceded this year. I think they've conceded the fewest amount of goals in all of Europe, and we have still found our way to more clean sheets than a side like Roma. So defensively, like pretty content, but I worry with the chance creation, and am hopeful that it's just because we are without our midfield. Missing 2 of our 3 midfielders, our starting midfielders in a match, is never good. So I'm hoping, and I'm trying to take the more optimistic outlook from these run of games, and a little bit of help in the mercato, a healthy Rovella, and just playing in this way that we have been playing. I think we can be a side that still is dangerous, and hopefully can scratch and claw a little bit closer to finishing in European spots. But look, it's been a turbulent up and down roller coaster 2025. Appreciate all of the Laziali, the Lazio world that has supported us and this podcast. I think we're like 14 subscribers away from hitting 600 or 700 on what are we at we're 16 subscribers away from 700 on YouTube. So if you're a Calcio fan, certainly if you're a Laziale, show us some love. Go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe. We're on every podcast platform. So if you don't want to watch us, still subscribe, but check us out wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us that 5-star rating. It helps our platform grow and get noticed. We're on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, X, whatever you call it. Find us, jump into our chats when we're live, engage with us. It has been an absolute pleasure covering Lazio. Hope to do more. We'll see Caleb back in 2026. So auguri. It was a good Christmas for myself. Hope you all had a great Natale as well.